and we go for video presentations. And I will request video presentation. The best video presentation gets Professor Hanumanta Reddy Award. And I invite Dr. Savleen Kaur. She will be speaking a tale of, she will be presenting the video, A Tale of Lost Muscle. Dr. Savleen, please.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Sposi, for inviting me again for this video presentation. And the title of my video is The Tale of a Lost Muscle. The purpose of this video is to detail the surgical tips and tricks for retrieval of a lost muscle. A 64-year female with aphakic rhegmatogenous retinal detachment was taken up for pars plana vitrectomy with incerclage. At the time of surgery, a 360-degree conjunctival peritomy was done. After careful dissection of the intermuscular septa, all recti were bridled consecutively. Careful denudation of the muscle sheath was done by a cotton-tipped applicator before bridling. At this time, the fellow retinal surgeon decided to supplement the local anesthetic block because the patient complained of pain. After injecting additional retrobulbar anesthesia, even though the globe felt tense, the surgeon decided to proceed with the surgery. A forceful manipulation of the globe and an attempt to abduct led to a sudden release in tension. Realizing all was not well with the medial rectus, the retinal fellow called upon a strabismologist. On entering the OR, I realized that the retinal surgeon was operating on the 3D digital visualization system. Looking at what just happened, I found out that the medial rectus snapped just behind its insertion. Because of its minimum attachments to the other extraocular muscles, it retracts to the orbit the most, making it difficult to find. This muscle snapping could be due to various factors. In our case, an over-manipulation and additional retrobulbar anesthesia could be the culprit. I overviewed all the options in my mind. We could abandon the surgery and plan a transposition later on, or do a dynamic MRI post-operatively. Literature shows us that if you can relocate the muscle in the same sitting, it gives you the best motility post-operatively. Although operating on the ingenuity adds to the surgical challenge for a strabismologist, I decided to try exploration for the lost muscle. The first step was to inspect the muscle. Reviewing the relevant anatomy, we expect the medial rectus to retract towards its origin deep into the orbit. Hence, dissection should be carried out along the periosteum and then towards the orbital apex. We should be careful that we do not dissect along the lines of the globe as the muscle is forced further back. The medial rectus was identified in the subtenon space along the orbital wall. It was possible to identify it because of the anatomy of the muscle fibers. At this point, we should be careful not to pull the eye away from the detached muscle, as the muscle may snap further. We should also not pull on the residual Tenon's capsule, as the muscle may retract further. Once the cut edge of the muscle was identified and fascia separated from it, a double-armed Weichel suture was passed through the muscle. The same suture was then passed through the original insertion at the limbus. Muscle was advanced as much as possible without creating restriction in the opposite case. The muscle was then sutured to the sclera at the original site. We ensured that the complete muscle was attached at the insertion and there was no splitting of the muscle fibers. Rest of the VR surgery, steps of which are not shown here, was completed. Post-operatively, there was almost no limitation of movements. There was no significant heterotropia on the cover-uncover test. Patient did not complain of diplopia and further strabismus surgery was not needed. To conclude, a gentle and careful exposure of the rectus muscles should be done during retinal surgery. Muscle sheaths should be preserved as much as possible. Knowledge of relevant anatomy and proper instrumentation is a must for exploration and retrieval of a lost muscle. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Savleen. I think it was very interesting situation. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, sir. Thank you.
It was actually not lost muscle, it was disinserted muscle, to be very frank, because lost muscle is when you have tried exploration and you have not found it and you look for alternative procedures. Here it was just on the table, and you actually what is happening, once it is coming from the tenon's capsule opening, it goes and sort of sticks there. So in this situation, you could catch it where it was entering the tenons, I think.
Okay.
Had it gone, normally it doesn't go beyond that until there has been manipulation or it has been going on for a long time. So you were lucky that you could find it there.
Yes,
And lost is only when you are not able to find it, then you look for alternative procedures like transposition and all that. Other thing to keep in mind is that it was on the table, you found it, and things were sort of, you corrected it. Had it been, say, after some time, then this muscle also undergoes contracture and the antagonist also undergoes contracture. Like in this case, LR will also be contractured and the MR, because this has been lost. So while doing surgery, one has to keep that in mind, that the antagonist also might have to be recessed, and this one obviously will have to be brought back. But then you have to keep in mind that this is a contractured muscle, this is shortened muscle, this is not a normal muscle anymore. So I think that is important to keep in mind, and don't explode too much, because if you damage the tenons, anti-tenons, then fat will collapse and that will create a fat adherence syndrome. So one has to be careful when you are looking for the muscle. Don't go overboard and be slightly careful about those things. Very interesting and very good presentation.
Thank you, sir. Actually, the retinal surgeon, the retinal fellow came to me when I was around just in the OR, and he said that he tried looking for the muscle and he had lost it. So that's why I titled it like that, because it was.
So it was disinserted. This is classically PITS. Classically, PITS, what is pulled into two syndrome, usually happens with the inferior rectus more often.
Yes,
I've seen 1 or 2 cases with Dr. Mehta.
Absolutely right. So it's pulled in two syndrome.
So that is what happens here. It was disinserted at the insertion, not at the tendon and muscle attachment.
Yes, sir.
Whenever you are looking for the disinserted and lost muscle, it should always be time bound. And if you are not able to find, suggestion is just go back and hook rest of the two recti muscle, just stress the intermuscular septum. That will lead to the sheet of the muscle, and with non-traumatic forceps, it becomes very easy to pull out the muscle as whole.
Provided you are lucky, your good luck has to be on your side in this case.
And the 3D visualization system, sir, I think it gives you a better depth perception, the Ingenuity system, because you're looking, it was my first case on the Ingenuity, and I was looking in the front, and I think it does add to the stereopsis a bit, that you can find it. That also made it a little easy. Otherwise, medial rectus lost, or pulled into, is like a nightmare for anybody.
The
very nicely
medial rectus both are notorious in this matter, both because these are more likely to be traumatized and damaged quite often. Thank you, Dr. Savleen.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Savleen. Now I invite Dr. Sanjay Dhar. He will be presenting video of lateral rectus recession with Y split. Dr. Sanjay Dhar. Dr. Sanjay Dhar.
Are you able to
good
share
morning,
your screen?
Good morning. Good morning, Dr. Sanjay. Please start your video.
I'm just trying to share my video, sir.
You want us to do it for you, doctor?
You can just try.
Okay, we'll do it for you. Is it visible?
Yeah.
Yes.
Good morning. I'll be talking about the LR recession with split. Can you change the slide, please? We had a case of 13-year-old male child with a diagnosis of exodoine retraction syndrome in the right eye with upshoot. So we did this surgery basically for the upshoot in the right eye. So the surgery decided was lateral rectus recession of 5 mm along with Y split in the right eye. Next slide, please. So this is the pre-operative video which shows the exo-DRS in the right eye, and when the child looks in the opposite gaze, that is the left gaze, the eye slowly and gradually shoots up. So there is a gradual upshoot in the right eye. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. So this is the video of the lateral rectus recession with bisplit. So we hook the lateral rectus. Then after hooking the lateral rectus, can you play it again, please? After hooking the lateral rectus and splitting the muscles, then we secure the arms of the two arms of the lateral rectus. We have hooked the lateral rectus. Then we split the lateral rectus with another muscle hook. Then we gradually increase the split of the muscle. Can you slightly forward it or play it again?
The video doesn't seem to play properly, doctor.
It's playing on my this thing. After securing, we disinsert the two arms of the lateral rectus. And after hemostasis, we mark the recession, that is 5 mm for the lateral rectus. So a 5 mm mark is put on the sclera from the original insertion, and then an 8 mm mark we have taken for both the upper fixation of the one arm. This is the fixation point for the upper arm, and we are fixing the upper arm at a distance of 8 mm from the recession point of 5 mm. So this is the upper arm which is being fixed. And this is the lower fixation point of 8 mm, which we have taken from the lower recession point of 5 mm. So we are fixing the lower arm at 8 mm from the lower pole of the lateral rectus at 5 mm recession point. So the lower arm is fixed. So both the arms are now wide split. Both are recessed and split in a Y-shaped pattern. This measurement we have taken, and it is around 20 mm apart. So we have fixed a lateral rectus, we split and fixed at 20 mm apart. And finally the closure of the peritomy is being done. Next, this is the post-operative video. So the upshoot which was there in adduction or the left gaze, that has been corrected after the Y split and recession of the lateral rectus of the right eye. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. So basically, lateral rectus recession with Y split is indicated for upshoots or downshoots in cases of Down retraction syndrome. Here we have done it for the exo Down retraction syndrome. which was associated with the upshoot in the right eye in the opposite gaze. Next slide, please. So basically, the lateral rectus muscle is split from its insertion as far as posteriorly, which is possible, and the muscle is spread into two arms, both 10 mm half up and down. And this basically this removes the lateral rectus from the crest of the globe, which is responsible for causing the upshoots and the downshoots, and also a certain amount of retraction in cases of Duane retraction syndrome. Next slide, please. So the this Y split is that the muscle halves which has been split, they restrain the muscle and the globe flip up or down, and reducing the retraction and the upshoot and downshoot, which are due to the bridle effect on the globe. So they remove the bridle effect which is there on the globe crest. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sanjay. I think it was very only thing I wanted to say.
Sorry.
That can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I can hear you, sir.
What I was saying that if you once you are recessing this muscle and you are doing Y splitting,
Sir.
about 3 millimeter of resection effect is also going to come because you are Y splitting. So if
Yes,
you have
sir.
to recess, you have to do probably more recession, because if you are doing 5 millimeter recession from the insertion and
Sir.
Y splitting, so the actual recession will be a bit less, say maybe 2-3 millimeters. So we
Sir.
need to recess it more, and in DRS normally we need to recess more than what the effect is, less than what you find in other conventional strabismus situations. So they say that 1 millimeter recession for one diopter or 1.5 diopter. So we have to do
Yes,
probably
sir.
more recession. That's why probably we felt there is little undercorrection. If you probably that's, I mean, what I could see, maybe I'm wrong. So probably we should do more recession in these cases. And this is quite good, but with time, these also, they tend to change. These two arms tend to sort of organize together. And long term, we have done histopath and all shown that, but it is quite good procedure in these kind of difficult situations. That's true. Good.
Yes, sir, you're absolutely right, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
In this case, Dr. Sanjay, I think post-operatively there was slight undercorrection also.
Yes, sir. Basically, we did this surgery for upshoot. There was a gradual upshoot in the right eye on the opposite gaze, sir. And that is why we thought there is a less of the anomalous LR innervation. So we did not go for more of the recession, and we
Okay.
did it undercorrected.
You did not have much of probe retraction in this case, I think. When
Yes,
they
sir. Yes, sir.
retraction, there isn't much of
Yes,
probe
sir.
retraction. So you were lucky. Otherwise, that would not have got
Yes,
him
sir. But,
Yeah.
recession.
yes.
Yeah.
That is why we chose this. Yeah. Thank you, sir.
So now I invite Dr. Vidya C. She will be presenting a video pligation augmented modified Nishida's procedure in 6 nerve palsy. Dr. Vidya, please.
Sir, they will be sharing the video, or I have to share the video?
You want us to share? I'll share it.
Yeah,
madam.
yeah. You share, sir.
Is the screen visible?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But sound is not coming, sir. It has a voice over also. Sir, shall I do a thing?
Plication augmented modified Nishida's procedure for 6 nerve palsy. 35 years female presented with the complaints of double vision following head injury 1 year back. On examination, she had a -6 abduction limitation in the left eye with a primary case esotropia of about 70 to 75 prism diopters. She is diagnosed with a complete 6 nerve palsy in the left eye. Various surgical options are available in the literature for the 6 nerve palsy. Plication augmented modified Nishida's procedure, which is a modification of the procedure described by Michael et al. In his study in JAPUS 2015. He has done with a modified Hamilton procedure. I have done here with a modified Nishida's procedure. It is a single stage procedure where the modified Nishida's procedure is augmented with a lateral rectus plication of 5 mm Here, since the medial rectus was tight, I have done the medial rectus recession of 5 mm as well. Post-action test revealed a slightly tight medial rectus. Parapharyngeal incisions are made here in the infratemporal quadrant. Inferior rectus muscle hooked and isolated. At about 10 mm from the insertion, muzzle bites are taken along the temporal margin with 50 ethibond sutures. Scleral bites are taken about 13 mm from the limbus in the infratemporal quadrant. The temporal margins of the muzzle is secured in the infratemporal quadrant using the scleral bites. Now the parapharyngeal incision in the superotemporal quadrant is done. Superior rectus muscle is isolated and hooked the similar way. Muzzle bites are taken along the temporal margin of the muzzle with 50 ethibond sutures. The scleral bites are taken 13 mm from the limbus in the superotemporal quadrant, and the temporal margin of the muzzle is secured in that area. Now the lateral rectus plication is being done. Then the medial rectus recession of 5 mm is done. She was orthophoric for the distance and near postoperatively. The abduction has improved with a limitation of only -3. The orthophoria persisted 9 months postoperatively down the lane. There was no symptoms of anterior segment ischemia. So I conclude by stating that single-staged plication augmentation of the modified Nishida's procedure gives promising result in large angle esotropias in complete 6-nerve palsy. Thank you.
It was interesting presentation. Only thing is probably you can do more medial rectus recession as just you did just 5 mm. Quite often these MRs are more tight. And
Actually, it was very slightly tight, sir. So only I prefer doing only 5 mm of recession, and it worked out also.
you were that we can see, but usually they need more of recession than
Yeah.
And these Nishidas I have done, they tend to at times they tend to cut through the sclera, the bites. If try to pull them properly, and if they are probably not at the right direction,
Depth, then it gets to choose where, sir.
one has to be careful while passing those,
Yes.
pulling on those sutures.
Yes,
That's what
sir.
one has to take. And how much follow-up you had on this?
So now 1 year is over, sir. 1 year she's still orthophoric, sir.
But in side gaze, she has diplopia. In side
Sir,
gaze,
very minimal. Yeah. Yeah, very minimal diplopia is there.
And you cannot induce any vertical because as I
No,
was,
sir, no induced vertical deviation, sir.
that possibility is also there in these cases when you are doing these transposition, I mean, Nishida and other transpositions, because you can induce a vertical which can create torsional issues and other issues. Good presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
So, Dr. Vidya, it was excellent presentation.
Thank you, sir.
Now we invite last speaker of this video session, Dr. Amar.
Yes, sir.
So you will be showing resident surgical training on goat side.
Sir, is my slide visible?
Yeah.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
A dry cotton gauze is rolled around the globe such that the muscle of interest remains exposed. Now, this prepared globe is mounted on a mannequin head. It is secured in place with a latch provided on the undersurface of the mannequin. The free end of the exposed extraocular muscle is then bridled using a 6-0 silk suture. This suture is used to provide traction to keep the muscle taut. Here, we demonstrate recession of the extraocular muscle. The muscle is bridled in two halves at its insertion using two single-armed 6-0 Weichel sutures. After this, the muscle is cut at its insertion, taking care not to cut the bridle sutures. The sclera is marked at the desired distance from the insertion. The muscle is then reinserted at the mark with partial thickness sterile sutures. The sutures are passed from out to in and are tied with their respective free ends. The sutures are trimmed and the recession is complete. Next, we demonstrate plication. The amount of plication planned is marked on the muscle. The muscle is bridled in two halves using two single-armed 6-0 Weichel sutures with spatulated needles. Now, the sutures are passed through a partial thickness of sclera just anterior to the muscle insertion in an out-to-in manner. These sutures are then again passed through their respective halves of the muscle at the mark in an in-to-out manner. An Aris repositor and a lens hook are then used to carefully fold the muscle such that the folded part is buried underneath it. Now, the sutures are again passed through the sclera just anterior to the insertion and are tied to the respective free ends to secure the plicated muscle in place. Next, we demonstrate resection. As demonstrated in plication, the muscle is marked and bridled at the desired length with 2 single or double-armed 6-0 Weichel sutures. The muscle is cut just anterior to the mark, taking care not to cut the brittle sutures. The muscle remnant is cut at the insertion and the muscle is reinserted at the original insertion. The sutures are trimmed and the resection is complete. This was a demonstration of strabismus surgeries. Other surgeries that may be demonstrated on the goat's eye include buckling surgery, trabeculectomy with releasable sutures, and post-traumatic globe repair.
Thank you, Dr. Pujari, very good presentation. How was this feel of this muscle? Because they look obviously they're different than human extraocular muscles. So while
Sir.
and handling them, how you have done human muscles also and these goat extraocular muscles.
Yes, sir.
What are the difficulties or advantages?
Sir, to feel like human surgeries, we need to create tension in the muscle, sir. So that we did by attaching a string to that one.
Okay.
So if you create that tension, it looks like almost like a normal surgery only, sir, because we are going to get that feeling of scleral suture passage. We can penetrate also on goat side to feel that feeling, how we are going to do partial thickness and full thickness, sir.
But the sclera and the extraocular muscles are, I think, not the same. I mean, the tissue is not, they are different. Probably one is probably doesn't translate directly to what we do in human beings, but for, I think, initial practice, it is good idea.
Yes, sir.
Do you agree with me?
Yes,
So,
sir. Yes.
Yeah, for beginners, I think it is very.
Sir, basically,
Exactly.
it is like in the PG Med cell, what we are
Yes, sir.
teaching to the students. So basically, it is for practice purpose.
Yeah.
Exactly, sir.
Yeah, and that was wonderful idea to teach on goat side. Maybe it's very tight and rigid sclera, so you are handing little back of the needle because only 1/6 of the needle of 6-0 Vicryl is rounded backside posteriorly. So we should hold the needle at least at spatulated end, not in order to sleep while putting sutures in the sclera. So if you can teach to resident like that, it's
Thank you.
maybe, but in this patients, this goat side, the sclera may be rigid, so you may not may have to hold little back. But in human, at least it should be little center.
Yes, thank you.
So I think we need little insight how these extraocular muscles are different in goat side, the sclera and extraocular muscles, these tissues, how are they different from human tissues? I think that's important.
Yes, sir.
Sir, basically these sort of modules, they can be used for teaching the residents where there is not much of surgical exposure.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it gives them a feel, but then true experience is always true experience.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Beginners, it is good. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Amar.
Yes.
So with that, we conclude this video presentation session.